Welcome to The Backlash. I am your host, Rebecca Hargraves, joined as always by Mr. Dave Riley. How are you doing, Dave?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Pretty good.
Nice.
You can find us on X at Real Backlash, our website, thebacklash.net. Support us on subscribestar.com/thebacklash, patreon.com/thebacklash. Send your super chats that will be read live at the end of our show to thebacklash.net/superchat, or right here on my YouTube channel, Blonde in the Belly of the Beast, or
on our Rumble channel.
Which
you should
is
be following.
Backlash Podcast. Also on our YouTube channel, which is at Real Backlash. Find all of our links on thebacklash.net. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok.
Tic-tac-toe.
It's because you have knickknacks.
Knickknacks, your primary source of nicotine, who is not yet a sponsor of the show, but one day.
A big thanks to our sponsors, Atlas Bullion, premier dealers of gold and silver, Idaho Tallow, that is skincare without endocrine disruptors, and Antelope Hill, the people that will publish literally anything.
Yeah. How was your weekend? Good weekend?
It was fine. It was uneventful.
We did the Feast of Christ the King at our church, and it was magnificent. It was like 3 hours long. It's like the longest mass we have all year. And we did like a little parade around town.
And the kids did okay in a 3-hour mass?
Did fantastic. I brought my third non-Catholic to mass in a month. So we're getting out there. We're spreading the faith.
He's going to proselytize.
I am proselytizing. Even though the Pope doesn't want us to proselytize anymore, I'm going to do it
Dave Riley's going to do it. He's going to convert all of you.
And I promised my daughter. Okay. She's been like diligently making new things to show off.
Oh.
So she did this little watercolor painting of the Sacred Heart.
Beautiful.
So anyway.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
I have now fulfilled all of my contractual obligations. Also, don't forget, we're hanging out tonight, Prairie Pavilion, 5 p.m. Be a lot of fun.
Please don't shoot us.
We'll be bringing pizza.
Really? I thought we were getting tacos.
The taco truck is closed.
Oh, Monday.
It's Monday. They have Taco Tuesdays. So we'll be getting some pizza.
Okay.
Maybe I'll get a case of beer.
Okay, cool.
I don't know. What could go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? Pizza and beer. I'd like to introduce our guest, Mary Phagan-Keen, the great-grandniece of Mary Phagan, who was murdered in 1913. She's been involved in preserving her great-aunt's legacy and researching the case, particularly through her book, The Murder of Little Mary Phagan. Welcome to the show today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome.
What inspired you to dedicate so much time and research to writing about your great aunt, her case?
Well, I had my oral history by my daddy, and I discovered in several of the books as a young girl, teenage girl, 15, 16, and 17, that the authors that were writing the books were very different than the story that the family was telling me. And that's when I started the quest, actually, when I was 15. Daddy and I went to Georgia State University here in Atlanta, and we started reading the old newspaper accounts, the original newspaper accounts, which was on microfiche. And we made copies of them, and then we would bring them back. And every summer we did that when I was 15, 16, and 17, and discovered that it wasn't the same facts that the books were saying, and it was different. And I wanted to know why it was different. I just have a very inquisitive mind and love to do research. So that's when I started. I started actually at age 13, but seriously at age 15, I started the research.
So what were the biggest discrepancies that you found between what was written at the time and then the understood history of the case?
Wow, you want to go for a week? I'm sorry. There's just so much you got to pick and choose what you want to do. It's just so hard. The main thing was that there were mobs and people yelling, "Hang the Jew or we'll hang you." There were people on rooftops looking in at the trial of Leo Frank, and that he was convicted because there was of anti-Semitism. Those I found out were very different when you read the original newspaper accounts. For example, all three editors of newspapers at that time, the Journal-Constitution in Georgia, had Jewish editors. There was no mention of Leo Frank ever in those original newspaper accounts of him being Jewish. It would just say Leo Frank, factory superintendent. I think it was more of a northern aggression that the South was feeling about it, and it wasn't anti-Semitism. It was just a very trying time for people in Georgia because, the war between the states was only 60-something years before that, and they hadn't really recovered from that. So that's pretty hard. The other thing was that I'll just talk a little bit about Mary, that she wasn't raped. Well, I found out that she was. original newspaper transcripts have the testimony of Dr. Harris. What was really hard, and I'm going out of sync here, but was the fact that the original trial transcript of the trial in 1965 disappeared. When Leonard Dennerstein and Harry Golden wrote their books, they sent their research teams to Atlanta, and when they left, there was no trial transcript. So we do not have that to look at. All you have is the original newspaper accounts, which address the questions and the answers of each person that was on the witness stand. There is, however, which I have a copy of, is the brief of evidence just gives a summary of their statements and stuff. But what's interesting about the brief is they do have all the exhibits, which I think are very critical in learning about the case. There's just so much I can't tell you. There's so many hoaxes. I call them hoaxes. Bite marks on Mary, no, didn't happen. Exodus of Jews after Frank's lynching, no, didn't happen. Let me get my list. Hang on a second. I've got a whole list full.
Go for it.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah.
here we go. All right. So, did Frank have a fair trial? They said he did not. How come then did 13 courts say that he was guilty and never challenged the verdict of the jury? It was 3 Georgia Supreme Courts and 2 Supreme Courts that said the same thing. Nobody questioned his guilt at all whatsoever. There were plants. Frank's defense team actually planted evidence to try to frame 3 people, actually. Newt Lee, Jim Conley, and John Gett, a Phagan family member, very close to the family.
Didn't he hire a private investigator to do that?
The Pinkertons, actually. I believe he hired the Pinkerton National Detective Service, paid them with money from the National Pencil Company, which he owned, right? And I don't know, Mary, you might know how long the investigation was, but they turned right around and said, nope, he did it. Even though he was paying for their bills. You would imagine, like, if he's paying their bills, that they would have, like, tried to make it look like he wasn't guilty or something like that. But the evidence was clearly so overwhelming.
But he planted the bloody shirt, right?
Right.
And a note.
Oh, of course.
There was a note, too, like, I did it.
Yeah.
Jim Conley.
Right. And that nobody can dispute that. Sorry to interrupt you, Mary.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I like it when it's like this. It's a lot easier for me because I can go in so many angles, and I just want to see what you think the viewers would be interested in.
Oh, we want to hear all of it.
We want to hear it all.
Hoaxes, but the Pinkerton detectives definitely said that Leo Frank was the guilty party. And so they did have some controversy with the National Pencil Company because they did not pay the Pinkertons and they took it to court. So that's an interesting aspect that you could talk about hours for just on that one subject. But I think having the plants, they planted the, what did they call it? The club in the basement. Mm-hmm. That they also planted an envelope supposedly with Mary's number on it. And when they actually looked at the envelope, it was the wrong number of Mary's number that Leo Frank has there as an employee. They all have numbers, and that was not her number on that envelope. And so it was just real interesting to me that they did all that. Plus more, the bite marks, I said, murder notes were Jim Conley. Jim Conley said that Leo Frank dictated the notes. And I firmly believe that because of the fact that Daddy told me that the note said a tall, slim, black man. Okay, we're talking about the South. Mm-hmm. Hang on a second. I'm old. I have runny nose sometimes.
Okay.
So he said that in there, and he said, in the South, do you really think the South would call a person like that, of that color, a black man?
Right.
No, it was colored or Negro. Mm-hmm. And in the brief of evidence, when the colored people testified, is what they call them, colored, and they put it in parentheses on the brief of evidence. So that verified to me what my dad said. There's no way, he said there was just no way that Jim Conley would have put that term on there. And the other thing about the note, and a lot of historians don't bring it up, is the fact that Jim Conley had never met Newt Lee. So how did he know he was a long, tall, slim, black person? Mm-hmm. So that did that too. So I talk about a lot in the book too, a little bit about the shit in the shaft. They call it the SOS. Jim Conley did defecate, but it never was made an issue in the whole trial. But after the trial, it became an issue, and everybody said, the elevator smashes the first time. Those elevators, even in Atlanta in the 80s and 90s, when we would go visit friends that lived in warehouses with those elevators, they don't touch the ground every time. They don't. So that, I look at that too. Exodus Jews we talked about. Knights of Mary Phagan is a hoax, which is what the Vigilance Committee was, the group of men that lynched Leo Frank. They called themselves the Vigilance Committee. The Knights of Mary Phagan came from New York, when the New York press by, let's see which one it is, Out Off Ox, said that 6 weeks before the lynching of Leo Frank, he brought up that there was a movement in Georgia calling themselves the Knights of Mary Phagan. Well, when I did the research again and looked at it very carefully, I completely observed that all the newspapers here in Atlanta never mentioned Knights of Mary Phagan and called it the Vigilance Committee. Interesting. So, and then there was a couple of judges that said that they were one of the few people that knew that Leo Frank was innocent. However, when they published their books and they said that they would leave on their deathbed the information, there was no information. All the miniseries, movies, documentaries, they're all fictionalized accounts. Wow. The racial prejudice was really against the Negroes and the colored people. Right. I mean, that was very, very racist. And I couldn't believe it. You know, they actually in court called Jim Conley a lying, filthy, drunken, and the N-word. I don't say that N-word, but that's what they called him all throughout court. And they considered colored people to be despicable, low intelligence, and they really weren't people. And it was awful, and it came all out in court.
Now, hold on a second. Who is they in this? You're saying that they were saying this. Are we talking about Leo Frank's attorneys?
The defense. Mm-hmm.
Right, and they were Jewish.
Yes.
Jewish attorneys that were saying this about. I mean, that's just amazing. It's amazing to me. Sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to put a point on that. Go ahead.
So then the big one was Tom Watson. I know he was a very colorful character, and I don't address much of Tom Watson except for that he wrote the Watson's magazine and the Jeffersonian. But they keep saying that he created a lot of the anti-Semitism. However, during the trial of Leo Frank, it didn't happen. He did it after the trial in 1914. You won't see anything from Tom Watson on the case. Wow. And I call it the Mary Phagan case now. I'm going back to that because here in Atlanta in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was called the Mary Phagan case, and then it changed to the Leo Frank case. So I'm changing it back to the Mary Phagan case. And speaking of Mary Phagan, what's happening today in the last 10, 15 years of the current books being written, they are smearing little Mary Phagan. They're calling her voluptuous and promiscuous, flirtatious, big for her age. We all know what that means. She wasn't a virgin, all this kind of stuff. And I verified all that through evidence that they are totally inaccurate about that.
Right. And so many of the other girls that worked at the pencil factory came forth in the trial, talking very frankly about the sexual abuse that they experienced at Leo Frank's hands. So we know that is untrue.
That's disgusting.
Yes, and also little boys. Two boys testified, I believe. Yeah, I know most people don't know that.
I didn't know that, and I've known about this case for like 10 years. God.
So there's boys in this thing. I did an analysis, and that's in my book. The analysis of the people that testified, the girls and the boy that testified against Leo Frank during the trial. So it is in the book. So there's some things in there.
By the way, we've got on the screen, we have the book. It's called The Murder of Little Mary Phagan. It's available on Amazon for, it looks like $28, but there's also a website, littlemaryphagan.com. And I've been going over this the past few days, taking a peek, but there's a lot of really good resources on here, other interviews if you want to dive, even deeper. There's articles, stuff like that. So just FYI for everybody listening, you're able to continue diving.
And I think the other thing was there's a couple more things they had. White privilege. I mean, Leo Frank said in the newspapers, and I have that in the book, a photograph of the account that no one would know that I would suspect me that I did it. It was the work of a Negro. It's a black man's.
Right. And back to the anti-Semitism angle, Leo Frank was a Cornell-educated engineer from the North. He wasn't experiencing a lot of systemic anti-Semitism. He was successful and well-respected in the community. So this anti-Semitism narrative really did emerge after the murder and the formation of the ADL.
Right. That's true. And then, of course, the yellow journalism is being brought up currently now in the 2020s. So I was surprised about that because it had never been mentioned before. That my daddy had told me, he said, it was sensationalized. But I think what he really meant, and I'm proud to say this, is that I found out that I don't think it was sensationalized during the trial. I think it became sensationalized after the trial, when the New York Times and the Chicago Tribune came into it. And then it became another mini war between the states. And that's when I feel like it really got sensationalized. I think the Atlanta newspapers, you got to remember, the editors were all Jewish. They were very, very pro-Frank, but nobody says that. Nobody.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that he did experience some bias, but that bias was the resentment that he was this industrialist from the North that was
carpetbagger.
Yes. And that he was employing child labor, which the Southerners resented.
Right.
Gentile child labor.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's not like that.
You're right on point on
Jewish
that.
kids from
And then the
yeshiva
last one, of
clocking
course,
in.
and the big one, was Alonzo Mann coming forward saying that he saw Jim Conley with the body of my great aunt, little Mary Phagan, on the first floor instead of the second floor where the murder occurred. And that was a big thing. And it's been ever since 1982. It's been a journey that I never thought I would go through, but I'm very strong and I made it through it. And I'm happy about that. And I'm proud of myself. And I think this is the perfect timing for me in my life to put it all together in writing and let people know how evil and devious the ADL has been, and several people here in Georgia, in trying to exonerate Leo Frank.
Absolutely. Have you experienced personal attacks because of your book?
No.
Well, that's fantastic.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
not the answer I
I'm
was
sorry,
expecting.
I have to tell the truth, right?
No, of course.
No, but I mean, it's incredible to me that it's like, you have the trial that went through several courts. There's no question about Leo Frank's guilt. And then this group, the ADL, gets founded. And then they've just been out here smearing and slandering this poor little 14-year-old girl who got raped to death for 110, 120.
Right.
How long has it been? It's been almost 120 years.
Yes, I watched a recent ADL report, some anniversary special that they had done a few years ago, and they actually called her a woman in it.
Yes.
What?
Yes. That's the tactics that they're using. She was a little girl. She was 13 years old. She would have been 14 on June 1st, and she was murdered on April 26th.
Oh, my God.
But she was a little girl. She, yes, she was, my daddy told me, great grandmother said that she was, big for her age or large for her age, which means you know what I'm talking about. We're girls here, you know what we're talking about, that she was large chested. But of course, they also forget to look at her and how she was dressed and how she was always covered.
Modesty, bows in her hair.
Thank you. I think that's a good word, and I'm going to steal that word from you now. That she was dressed appropriately and was modest. Nobody would know it unless she wore tight clothing. She was not that kind, but that's how they're making her. Interestingly enough, in 1935, this is kind of strange. It was Lana Turner portrayed little Mary Phagan.
Oh, good grief.
Can you believe that?
Absolute sex symbol.
Yep. And
Lana
back then they had those pointed, brassieres that, where your chest stuck out, the points and everything,
I'm sure a Jewish director is
I'm
at
sure.
the helm there. It's Lana Turner, the actress. You can just pull up.
Hold on, I'm going to try to see if I can pull this up. Let's see.
Okay.
It's called They
Won't Forget. Are you talking about I'm sorry, I didn't tell you the title. They Won't Forget.
Yeah, They Won't Forget's the name of the movie.
And it's based on a college professor. Instead of, they changed the story around a little bit. I'm sorry, I keep talking with my hands. I'm Italian.
No, it's okay. It's okay. There we go. Based
Can we
Italians.
pull up a picture of Lana Turner too?
Yeah, absolutely.
That was her first role.
That was her first role. Oh, jeez.
Yeah,
Come
she was
on.
a Jewish curated sex symbol from the 40s, I believe.
That's unbelievable.
She played little Mary Phagan.
Wow. Now,
What an
hold on, let me
outrage.
see if I can find
Absolute
written by
outrage.
Robert Rosen and
No
Abe and
way.
Candle were the writers. It was produced by Jack Warner. And where's the director? Who's the director?
Oh, I don't remember I'm sure I put it in my
It's
books.
right there at the top.
Somewhere.
Marvin Leroy. Let's see. Is this guy? I'm not getting my Judar is not going off on this guy.
Okay.
Gentile.
He looks like a Gentile. Unreal. Oh no,
That's
I'm
just,
wrong.
I'm just showing with you how it
I
even started
apologize.
earlier
His
than I
family
thought
was
with
Jewish.
Mary
He
Phagan.
was Jewish.
But
Never
both
mind.
of his parents had fully assimilated, so it's fine.
Oh, right. It's totally fine. Sure. That's why we're seeing this, happening. Of course, Mary, I'm sure you've seen. There was this story that broke out earlier this year, or was it last year, they discovered tunnels under 770 in
New York?
Crown Heights,
Right.
Yes.
And they're pulling out these mattresses with stains on them. And then there's also another story that popped off about a Jewish group called Lev Tahor, who was trafficking and raping children in Guatemala. And it actually, there was a riot that started down there. And then, with the Israeli war in Gaza, you'll remember that there was this moment where the Israeli soldiers and the IDF were raping Palestinian prisoners. And when they got arrested for that, Itamar Ben-Gvir and a bunch of his radical followers were holding pro-rape riots outside of the jail in Israel. What is the problem here?
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey Epstein,
Right.
of course.
Well, it's sanctioned in the Talmud.
Well, Leo Frank to me is the first sexual pervert, is what my dad told me. Was the word sexual pervert? When we now call it pedophile. Was ever convicted in the United States of rape and murder. Wasn't convicted of rape, but he was convicted of murder. But she was raped. It did come out in the trial during the autopsy testimony.
Why was he not convicted of rape?
At the time, they didn't know until the detectives looked at her body when they discovered her body, and until the mortician and Dr. Harris and Dr. Hurt. There's a couple doctors that looked at her body. It was contentious, whether she was raped or not. The final decision was that she was raped physically. And this is what I'd like to say about it is great-grandmother Fanny Phagan-Coleman said that Mary was large for her age, but that she had not reached puberty. That means to us girls, we know what that means. She did not have a menstrual cycle. However, when the detectives found her, in her panties were blood.
Oh, yeah, that's...
So they're trying to now say she wasn't a virgin. That she was, that's what they're doing today. They're saying that she was not a virgin. And my daddy told me that if Mary had had her menstrual cycle, she would have had a cloth with 2 pins attached in her panties, and she did not. Right. And even Governor Slayton, who commuted Leo Frank's sentence from death by hanging to life in imprisonment, in his commutation order said it was menstrual blood.
That is so terrible. Or they would wear red petticoats, but there were, they definitely prepared for their periods back then.
Right. Well, I was 13 when I started, so, late 13, and Mary just didn't start yet. But
which is totally normal, right.
But you have to have something in there in your panties. I mean, you can't just let blood go all the way down and your legs and things. There's got to be something there. So I did some research, and I found out what kind of products did women in 1913 use, and they said the same thing my daddy said. They would have had a cloth with some pins in it. Right,
of course. So they were saying that she had lost her, but what explains the blood? Like if she wasn't a virgin outside of a menstrual cycle, I don't know how they were squaring the circle.
I don't know. That's what just threw me for a loop. And I am determined to say that was not her menstrual cycle, because as most women know, the first time you do it, you know what happens. You get blood.
Yep, exactly. Were you going to say something, Dave?
Well, I was just going to point out, because we go there on this show, if you look at I'm sure everybody watching already knows, but for those of you who don't, there's something called the Talmud. The Talmud is the Jewish holy books, right? A lot of people think that, they've got, the Old Testament, that's their holy book, but it's not. We're not going to get into it now, but I did a podcast about this with J.D. Hall about how the rabbis, the Pharisees at the time of Christ had an oral tradition that contradicted the Torah, that allows what the Torah prohibits. And that was codified after they killed Christ and were, sent off to exile again in Babylon. And so something called the Talmud is the codification of the oral law of the rabbis. And so we've got up on screen here, this is from Sanhedrin 54b, where a lot of this stuff is. And they're talking about how, the Torah does not deem the intercourse of one who is less than 9 years old to be like the intercourse of one who is at least 9 years old. As for a male's act of intercourse to have the legal status of full-fledged intercourse, the minimum age is 9 years. And Shmuel says that the Torah does not deem the intercourse of a child who is less than 3 years old to be like that of one who is 3 years old. And then it goes on to talk about whether it's halakhic to have homosexual intercourse. And of course, it says that, if a child who is less than 9 years old engages in homosexual intercourse passively, the one who engages in intercourse with him is not liable. So that means that if you rape a 9-year-old male, then the person doing the raping is not liable. What planet is this from? Because it doesn't seem like Earth. But this is the kind of discussions that they're having in these Jewish holy books. And so I think it's important to point out that when we talk about Leo Frank, when we talk about Jeffrey Epstein or Lev Tahor, or all of these other scandals that keep coming up over and over again of Jewish people raping little kids, there is a reason for it. It's part of their religion. Mm-hmm. And it's disgusting. And I'm sick and tired of hearing people, but the Muslims, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, sure.
Irrelevant,
obviously.
though, to the conversation that we're having, yeah.
Right. It's not the Muslims that are in control of the media or Hollywood that are sexual. Remember that TV show Cuties that came out? And they're like openly sexualizing kids. And then go to your library and take a look at the books that they got in the children's sections.
Well, we're obviously being gaslit about this narrative with Jewish pedophilia. And that's the reason that the Leo Frank case has totally unraveled in the last few years, especially. Have you seen a lot of changes, let's say over the last 5 years, in people's reception to the story that you were telling?
Oh, yes, definitely. And
that's wonderful
I'd like
to hear.
Share that if I can. The big thing happened in 2019 when the Fulton County DA Paul Hayward, former Governor Roy Barnes, the Rabbi Stephen LeBeau, and the Southeast ADL organization announced through the media that they were starting a conviction integrity unit in the Fulton County office, DA office, to exonerate Leo Frank. Oh. So here's the deal. They announced this decision on the day my great aunt was murdered.
It's so disrespectful.
Yes. And so that's when I'm only 4'10" 3/4, and I weigh about 107 pounds. So this little girl got real angry about that. Mm. And because, again, it's secrecy. It's all secrecy since 1982. Everything has been secret. It's political corruption. It's amazing. And my last newsletter, which the newsletters are in the book, says shame on Georgia, because they should be ashamed for what they've done with this case. But anyway, so I got angry and I got mad and I started my website, www.littlemaryphagan.com. And I was thinking that, I need to put all these documents, because I had a collection here at the house of 57 years that I gave last year to Georgia State University so that they can't document that it didn't happen, or the other point of view, or a lot of stuff have disappeared. The ADL has made sure that things are censored for sure, and they still are today, as a matter of fact. We got a couple of our websites censored. It was terrible because we put like 14 years in one of those websites called Flickr. So, but they're doing that. So anyway, I got mad and I got a team together, and we just started out doing that, and we just started writing about the case on the book, and we put the brief of evidence is on the Mary Phagan website, all the historical documents, all the newspapers, and then we decided to go a little bit further, because I don't know about you, but if you've ever seen these old newspapers, how yellow are, can you read them? I can't, and I've got good vision, but I certainly couldn't read those. So we decided that we were going to translate them. And so that's what we did. Everything, when we have a newspaper article now, we've translated most of all the articles. And right now we're doing, the first time ever, the Georgia Supreme Court records, which is, nobody does that. You cannot, if you are going to write a book about this case, you just cannot go to the previous books that have been written, because most of the historians of those books are the same religious faith as Leo Frank, and they already have an immediate bias, and they just parrot each other in each of the books and how it goes, and they don't change it. And I even discovered that Leonard Dinnerstein really actually committed academic fraud, because he said certain things happened and all he did was quote Harry Golden's book.
This is what happened. This is something important too,
yes.
And not just for this particular historical moment, but other historical things that we will be talking about. I believe David Irving is going to be coming on our show, the son of, no. Adam Irving? Adam Irving will be coming on the show, the son of David Irving, the great World War II historian. And he found this too, like in the 1970s and the 80s when he was writing his book, The Destruction of Dresden and a lot of this other stuff. He was finding that these academics were taking from already published books,
Right.
and then quoting that as opposed to going back to the actual historical record.
Yes, of course.
Over and over again. And so it's like, one guy writes a book and then somebody quotes this guy and then somebody quotes that guy. And it's like a long chain of telephone, and everybody is completely ignoring the actual evidence, the court records, the newspapers, and all of this stuff. And so that's how a lot of this history goes. And even in modern times, I've seen it happen with me. I've seen it happen with you. Like when I ran for school board, it's like some goofy Antifa journalist will come out.
And then you see it trickle down into all these other publications.
So you see, like, it goes on like Angry White Men, and then it gets quoted by like the Daily Beast, and then, Huffington Post will quote the Daily Beast.
Well, this is deliberate so they don't have to examine the primary source and
Correct.
discredit themselves.
Right.
I mean, it's
Thank
a
you,
network.
Becca.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. I mean, it just amazed me that they did that. And let me share with you, the revision actually started of the Mary Phagan case was in 1952. Okay. This is the book. It's called Guilty or Not Guilty. And it was written by Francis X. Bush. And he started observing with the Georgia Supreme Court statements that that the media, and I love what he said, that he quoted something from the Georgia Supreme Court, but let me read you the footnote. He said, the above is quoted at length because of the impression created at the time by the publicity given to the great juror's dissent, which was out of all proportion to that accorded the majority opinion that Frank had from onset been the marked victim of mob terrorism. And that's what he was saying. He saw that coming.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was glad to see that somebody did it. And that was my favorite book out of all the books that I read before my own book and a few other books that are still out there. The one book that started all the revisionism was this little book here called, I don't know if you can see it.
Put it right in front of your face.
Is that good? Oh, I'm sorry. I got all my notes because I want to make sure I get the years right. 1956, Night Fell on Georgia by Charles and Louise Samuels. And what they say in here is just, it is awful. I mean, I've never read anything. And this is where everybody got the same thing from. And then you see all the other authors taking it off and just repeating it, just like you said. And it just goes on and on and on. And I mean, it just amazed me how here's about the roof. Said the rest could not happen in a Negro either. Poverty stricken. They talk about how poverty was done and everything. It just really was. And then they started out with Leo Frank was a Jew, but here's what they say. At the time, there was little, if any, anti-Semitism in Atlanta.
So even they have to admit that. Have you confronted
And they do.
any?
And I did a complete analysis of every book during COVID that was written about the case in my library. And I went through and I have all the notes and I have written down every single book that promotes the hoax and what page numbers it's on. So people want it, they can go look themselves now because it's there.
Have you confronted any of the more modern authors that might still be around?
I think there's just a couple of them, but they've been very kind to me. I went to my sister and I attended a session in July about why the Leo Frank was still important today by the Jewish community, the Bremen Museum and the Jewish community there. And Matthew Bernstein was there who reviewed all the movies and stuff like that. In fact, he actually agreed with me in his book that I was absolutely right about the Murder of Mary Phagan miniseries. So that was nice. But he wrote a very nice saying in my book that, I'm the one that knows. I'm an expert in the case. And that was nice to hear from him. But I didn't, confront him on that. Steve Oney is the one in 2003 that really did a heavy duty book of it's just a remarkable book. But here again, he interviewed us. He introduced our family. He talked to us. He asked us questions. And when I read the first few pages of a book, I threw it down. I didn't read it for about a year. I couldn't read it because he called my family hillbillies. And then at the end, he's the one that calls Mary voluptuous and flirtatious and all this. And then he also said that she worked at a mill factory when she was 10. Little did he know, or did he forget in his notes when he was interviewing the family, that that was my other grandmother who happened to be married into the family. And she was another Mary Phagan.
Oh, good grief.
So see, there's been 3 of us that are Mary Phagans. And my grandmother, Mary Phagan, had a very horrible time. I got it a couple times, but not like she did, because she was 15 when she married my grandfather. And when she would introduce herself as Mary Phagan, she would get the same thing. She would say, "You're supposed to be dead."
What is wrong with people?
You know, you're supposed to be dead. And that's kind of what happened to me at 13 when I found out about little Mary. The Phagan family just did not talk about it. It was heartbreaking. It destroyed the families. I don't know.
But a teacher had told you, right?
Yes, a science teacher. I'm a military brat. Daddy was in the Air Force. Of course, Navy first. He jumped ship and he went to the Air Force. And so we lived in Japan and Hawaii. So that's where most of the things. So he didn't know a lot what was going on with the case, Mary Phagan case, in the 60s, because we were out of the country. Mm-hmm. So when we came back to the mainland, which we were in Hawaii, we came back to the mainland. That's what Hawaii calls the rest of the country. Mm. We moved to Charleston, South Carolina, and my science teacher, Mr. Henry, put us in line and asked us our names. And, I'm back in the day where it was just different. So we would go in line, and I said, "Mary Phagan." Pointed his pen, looked at me, kept looking at me, and there was a little girl in Atlanta in the 1920s that was murdered by that name. "Are you by chance related to her?" And I said, "I didn't know." Well, of course, I'm 13, traumatized when the boys started saying I was reincarnated and that I was dead. Just destroyed me. I can't tell you. I still feel that pain today when I tell the story. I was just so traumatized. And luckily, we walked home. We had to go home for lunch and all that kind of stuff. We don't do that now, but I walked home, and my dad happened to be home because he was always flying. And I said, "Mr. Henry said there was a little girl with my name that was murdered in Atlanta in 1913, and he asked me if I was related, and I told him I didn't know." Oh boy, I can still see him today standing there, just so distraught. And he didn't quite know how to tell me, but I always say this: he turned white as white could be. There was just a whiteness about him of horror. And he said, "Well, I want you to go back tomorrow and tell Mr. Henry that yes, you are related to little Mary Phagan. She was your great aunt, and we named you for her, so you are her great-niece and namesake. She was murdered in 1913 by Leo Frank, and Leo Frank was lynched by a vigilance committee for her murder after he went through the court process." And that's all he told me. And I said, "Okay, no big deal. I'll never be asked that question again." Forget that, no way. Oh my gosh, I have been asked that question all my life. Even to this day, I still get it. And I'd never discuss the case ever unless somebody asked me that question. I do not go out and introduce myself. I had to do that on one of the podcasts. With Tyler. And I said, "My name is Mary Phagan-Keen. I'm the great-niece." And I never say that when I meet new people. You know what I'm saying? It's just, if you bring it up, that's okay. But I'm not going to talk about it because It's still traumatic to me as well. So, but Mary, I just know that she's in me, if that makes sense. I don't know how to explain it, but I think there's a part of me that she has. And I really took it to heart. I know I'm not reincarnated, but I just know there's something in there. There's a connection there. Yeah. When I go to the cemetery, I just had experiences, wonderful, beautiful, spiritual experiences out there. I have to tell you, they were absolutely stunning. Met a lot of great people at the grave too. When we did the research here for this book, I was looking and I found a postcard that Mary had written, and it's my handwriting exactly.
Oh my Lord.
That's unreal.
Well, you're such a
my
worthy
brother and sister
namesake.
Freaked out. They just freaked out. And now I can't find the picture. I don't know what I did with it, but her handwriting and my handwriting were the exact same. Mary Phagan was just, I said, "My handwriting." And my brother and sister said, "Well, it's got to be because we can't write that beautiful like you do." So I have a beautiful handwriting. That's one thing I'm proud of. I like that. And probably because the higher being told me that I needed to teach students with visual impairment. So they needed to see my handwriting and, make sure it was legible that they can read what we're doing if they were just slightly visually impaired. But yeah, it was amazing that that handwriting just threw me for a loop. So she's in me, and I know she's happy with me with writing this book, and she's grateful and that finally the truth is coming about what some of the people in the state of Georgia had done with this Mary Phagan case.
Now, one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask about, because I don't think we've really covered it yet, is so there was the trial, there were the Supreme Court trials. He was found guilty.
Yeah.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was sentenced to death, was he not?
Yes, sentenced to hang.
He was sentenced to hang, but
Death by hanging.
if you can kind of walk us through what happened, because that's not what happened. The sentence was never carried out, and it was commuted, actually, I believe, by the governor of Georgia.
Right.
So can you walk us through that
Sure.
that angle of it and why the Vigilance Committee did what they did?
Sure, I'd be glad to. So Governor John Slayton was, well, most people don't know it, but I'm sure they do now, was a member of the law firm that defended Leo Frank. So that's the first thing that we have to get settled right away. So while he was governor and while the trial was going on. So he is a member of the law firm that defended Leo Frank. And he and the defense team worked together, in my family's opinion, to write the commutation for death by hanging to life in imprisonment. And they had to go through several avenues. They also had to go through like a prison commission, and the prison commission voted like, I think it was 2-1 to refer to the governor, or they wanted him to not die by death by hanging, but go to life imprisonment. And then a group of Marietta people, ironically, some of those members were part of the Vigilance Committee, and went and addressed the Georgia Prison Commission and said that we don't believe this, blah, 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 blah. We want him to be executed by hanging, to carry out the sentence. So that put everything in a different perspective, because they didn't do the death by hanging, and they were very upset. She was a little girl. She was raped, murdered horribly, and they wanted their own vengeance. So Governor Slayton decided, pretty much the last couple days of his governorship, that he was going to commute the sentence. It was interesting because people they were on lookout at the governor's mansion. And yes, several people said that the defense attorneys visited the governor and they believe they all wrote it together, and that he was paid under the table, which is what my family believes, that he was paid, but I could never find really evidence that it was, but I'd say it anyway. They felt he was bought and paid for. That's what my daddy told me. And I believe what my daddy told me. So I do. Because my oral history during everything I found out was very accurate what my daddy said. There's only a couple things that I had to re-clarify, and that was it. So I was really proud of that. But he did say that the family thought that and they wanted to, but then, he goes to prison and he's got a gash across his neck. The guy slits his throat, Leo Frank's throat, and he's severely injured and looking to die. And my daddy said he felt like the Atlanta people were just hoping he would die. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's just get it over with, and this guy killed him, and let's let him die. But he didn't. He lived and he survived. And then the Marietta people that were in the Vigilance Committee, yeah, I have that postcard too. It was a postcard, by the way, that they sold, and I have the original postcard over here.
Wow.
So it was, they decided that they needed to do something. So they had the wealthiest people, the most, I just get high society, church going people, no drunks, no liars, no swearers, nothing. They were just all great people in the community, came up with the idea of a vigilance committee. And it was really a lot of men. It just 25 men that went down, that they selected 25 men, but they had like a governing committee, which they governed it. They had a stakeout committee. They had, they had somebody that, okay, we're going to pretend we're fishing and we're over here. When they say that we went, that kind of thing. Ironically, too, it was the first automobile lynching done by an automobile. So they had to have people that could work on the cars that go there. So if you go back in 1913 and find who owned out cars, you automatically know who the Vigilance Committee members are, because they never discovered it until it wasn't really released until Steve Oney's book came out in 2003. Now, I could have released it in 1987 when I wrote the first book, but Daddy and I decided that we knew some families were not aware that their family member was involved in it, and we didn't feel it was our right to tell them that.
Right.
So,
I mean, when the
that's
judicial
just the way we
system,
felt. I mean, I guess you can say deep down we're good people, but people don't like what I have to say, and it's just too bad, so sad. The truth is the truth, and the truth must win. I'm tired of the truth losing to these people, and we've got to tell them the truth. So the Vigilance Committee members, the 25, did go out and lynch Leo Frank, which you showed the picture of. But it was because Governor Slayton commuted his sentence, and they know he was working with them in the middle of the night, and they didn't leave till midnight fire. And most people are not aware, but Governor Slayton was chased out of Georgia, and he never came back for 50-something years.
Yep.
He was never welcome again in Georgia again. And then he got the Profiles in Courage, I believe, in 1960, who Walter Matthau played him, Governor Slayton, which was totally a propagandized thing. I didn't know about that. I learned that from Tyler's podcast the other day and did the research on it and realized that, we were in Japan. That's why Daddy didn't know about it. You know what I'm saying? We just, we were overseas, so they're not going to put a Mary Phagan case story over in Japan. You know what I'm saying? Right. It'll just be in the mainland. So
I cannot imagine how much you hate Hollywood and the media.
Oh, I hate them. I hate them.
Of course. I mean, it's just so outrageous what was done to her memory.
Everything, parade is the worst thing ever. I mean, between that and the murder of Mary Phagan with John Lennon, it was just really, Lord have mercy.
And I want to point out too that, what we're talking about here with the Vigilance Committee and all of this, there is definitely, like, you can look at history, you can look at, what happened in Spain and all of this, like during the Inquisition and all this kind of stuff. There is a difference between like vengeance and this kind of like wrong-minded sense of justice, I guess, like retribution or whatever. The point is that he was found guilty by a lawful court multiple times, multiple different courts, and was sentenced to death.
Yes. They were enacting,
carrying out the will of the court.
Right.
That's what they said.
That is not something wrong. I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
I would
think
argue
that was the right thing to do.
I would argue that this
justice.
was not even extrajudicial.
Correct. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Is like this. I don't even view this as a case of like extrajudicial murder or any of that. This was
because
the will of the court.
The real miscarriage of justice was the commutation.
Right.
Yeah. Of course.
Right.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is unbelievable. I mean, there's so many different sides of this Mary Phagan case you can go into, and you just like roll your eyes and like, oh, you've got to be kidding me. Does this really happen? And it 9 times out of 10, it really did happen.
It's unreal.
And something that we didn't get into, and I don't know if we'll have time to get into it today, but it is pointing out the founding of the ADL. So that was done by a group called B'nai B'rith.
B'nai B'rith, yeah.
And B'nai B'rith is this kind of like Freemasonic, it's a Jews-only version of Freemasonry.
Right.
Essentially.
And Leo Frank was very active in his local...
active in his local...
He was president.
Yes.
There we go. So he was president of his local B'nai B'rith chapter. And so think about it. This group... After all of the court stuff had come out, everybody knew that he was guilty, and they went ahead and created this Anti-Defamation League, which has spent the last 115, 120 years, however long, demonizing white people, demonizing Christian America, demonizing our culture and our institutions. They've been involved in censoring speech on the internet, censoring speech on college campuses, the whole 9 yards. And it's like this thing was started before 1940, before the state of Israel was even founded. And so it's just, I think it's important to talk about. Maybe we'll find an expert on B'nai B'rith that we can have on sometime.
And then the insult of calling it an anti-defamation league when the truth can never be defamatory.
They are literally defaming the Phagan family
and they're
have been
defaming
doing
the Phagan
it
family
for 100
Absolutely.
years.
Yes.
It's just unbelievable.
That's true. And so like what you were talking about, what happened in the Jonathan Greenblatt of the ADL. Oh yeah, let me get onto that one. That
the disgraced Starbucks water
Hang on a
salesman.
second. This was so cool. And my website's really going on and everything else like this. And then so everything's really starting to heat up. And in 2021, Greenblatt started posting about how Leo Frank was a hero and he was and stuff. And so I put it on my website, and it was the first time for a community note, thanks to Elon Musk. And so when he was community noted, we figured out 98% of the comments were against Jonathan Greenblatt. And a lot of the people spoke up and said Leo Frank was convicted. He raped and murdered a little girl at age 13, and they just tore him apart. He actually had to cut off the comments to only people that were allowed to comment on his post.
Unbelievable.
Unreal.
Yeah. So it's been going on since 2021. So it's even happened in 2025. And again, he gets the same stuff again. Everybody's just screaming at him, telling him what a horrible thing you could do. And I mean, he never changes it. He posts the same thing every year on his lynching.
That's unbelievable.
Shameless.
Listen, Jews out there, please give me a call, right? You've clearly got a bad PR problem. I need a better job. I could use some money.
Get out of here, Dave.
I need a new deck. I'm just saying, there's ways that this could be talked about, and then you would start policing your own community. Right? Instead of putting people like Jonathan Greenblatt, calling Leo Frank a hero, I don't know, maybe ostracize him then put normal people.
No.
But they can't do that.
This is an insane perspective. We don't want Jews to have better PR.
No, obviously not. It's a joke. I'm joking. It's a joke. Joking? But it's at every turn, every decision that they make is the worst possible decision. It's amazing to me.
They protect their own at any cost.
At any cost. And meanwhile, we throw our own under the bus every single time.
That is absolutely true. If you have any questions for Mary, please get them in. I think we have a few.
We have a few. Chats.
We're just going to go through these really quick before we let you go.
Today is the 27th.
Already the 27th.
Oh my goodness. This month has just absolutely flown by. Jinx, owe me a Coke. And not just any kind of Coke. I want a Mexican Coke. They make the best Coke.
Oh, that's what I drink on. I have cases of them in my home. So anyway, the one thing I wanted to let you know, there is an effort right now today in Fonnie Willis's office with the Fulton County DA, Fonnie Willis, who you're very well familiar with the Trump case.
Oh, yes.
They are in the process due to Governor Bournes and the Rabbi Stephen LeBeau and the ADL, looking at reviewing and asking for a new trial for Leo Frank to exonerate him. So that's happening right now.
And of course, it's going to be totally flawed because it's how can you have a new trial if you don't even have the transcript of the old trial?
Right.
Wouldn't that be primary evidence?
They denied me open records too.
Right.
They won't give me the records at all. And Georgia State has said, the state of Georgia has said that the records on Leo Frank are state secrets.
What?
Yeah.
That's outrageous.
Yeah, I don't give up. I really don't. And they just need to, I'm sure somebody's hoping that, I go bye-bye, but I'm not going to give up, and I also did several times. They said that in the conviction integrity unit, they had a whole slew of people, judges, everybody part of it. And they said there was no records at all in this case. So how did they form it?
Right.
Who was there? Who was talking about it? You mentioned it in the newspaper accounts, but there's no records of it. Oh yeah. So the good thing is though and I really found this out. I really like saying this is that I love University of Georgia, but in this case, they did wrong. They told me they had 70 pieces of text and stuff that alluded to his conviction integrity unit. And then about a month and a half later, they denied it and said there were no records.
Wow.
Well, they exist. Yeah. Somebody has access to them.
Yep. All right, we have a super chat question from Book Track Grooves, who sent $10 on Rumble. Mary, I have heard that the modern ADL are just owned by Marxists. What is your assessment of the NGO, and where can I buy your book? So why don't you address the ADL point, and we'll put, we've already talked about the book. You can get it at Amazon.com. The Murder of Little Mary Phagan is available there. It is also available on the website littlemaryphagan.com. So if you want to buy the books, and we'll put some links in the show notes. I believe we already have this website linked in the show notes below, but if you want to address your thoughts on the Anti-Defamation League.
Well, they've changed drastically. It's unfortunate because during the 70s and 80s, the Phagan family and the ADL did work together. We were in discussion. They wanted to know how we felt about certain things. But when Alonzo Mann came forward in 1982, and after certain people passed, it changed. The group changed, and we were no longer involved. Again, they did things in secret with the state of Georgia with the pardon. So in 1983, they denied the pardon to Leo Frank based on Alonzo Mann's testimony. But after that, the Georgia Pardons and Paroles Board and the Jewish groups that we've been talking about met in secret for over a year and a half to write the new pardon, which was given in 1986 without addressing his guilt or innocence. So at this point, I have no relationship with them, and I don't study them. I just, when they post stuff, I just respond that way. I really don't have a definitive feeling about the Marxism at all. I just don't know. I just, to me, that's just a despicable, evil group. That's how I feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I think that it's, there were definitely accusations of them being Marxist, but I don't think it's necessarily that they were a Marxist group. I just think that they are a very, they protect Jews group. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at who the Marxists were, they were disproportionately Jewish. And so the Anti-Defamation League would rush to their defense, not because they were Marxists, but because they were Jews.
Right, of course.
And so there were books like The Kingship of Christ and the Conversion of the Jewish Nation by Father Dennis Fahey, published 1952. I know that there's like a whole chapter on the Anti-Defamation League there that was given an imprimatur by a bishop of the Catholic Church, by the way. And that actually leads me, what religion was Mary Phagan?
Well, I get that a lot. I'm Catholic. My grandfathers told me they were Baptist. So she went to the first Christian church is all I know. Mm-hmm. And I don't believe she was Catholic, but later on, like we became Catholic. Does that make sense? Sure. I don't know how to explain it. Everybody just went to church is what I want to say in that community. That's what happened. Everybody, the whole community in Marietta where she was from, they all went to church, and it was pretty much, I guess, the same church, and it could have different religious views.
Yeah.
So I just know that she, attended the First Baptist Church, and she was playing Sleeping Beauty before she was murdered and that kind of thing. But I became Catholic because my mother was Catholic and Italian, full-blooded, and could not marry my father unless he signed paperwork that all children born would be Catholic.
Case, let's go. W Catholics. Now, do you happen to know, do you know if she was baptized?
Yes, I think she was. Yes, she was baptized because my grandfather said they all were.
Okay. So I mean, this is, at age 13, you're not, she's in heaven. There's no way around it.
Of course.
I don't know if she's a martyr or not. I don't think you could necessarily, she's not a martyr for the faith, but this poor girl. Maybe we should be praying for the intercession of Mary Phagan in these days to bring down the Anti-Defamation League or something like that. Mary, that does it for us on the topical Super Chats. We've got a lot of non-topical Super Chats that we will go over and some commercials that we'll read. But if you want to plug your website again, or I'll do it anyway.
Okay, there it is.
We've got, she is on X at Phagan-Keen, Phagankean.
Don't forget the hyphen.
And there's a hyphen there, absolutely. So you should definitely be following her on X. She posts a lot of great content about the case. And then also her website, littlemaryphagan.com. We just got a last-minute super chat here. Let me see if I can read it. Internet. My computer's acting buggy. This is
thank you, Mary, for the testimonial
Dadsky007
personal account. I'm so blind. You're gonna have to read this. Keep fighting.
Thank you, Mary, for the testimonial and personal account. Keep fighting. Dave and Rebecca, have you heard of New American Vision? Any chance of a collab in the future? Cross-pollination in the space always helps. God bless.
I have not.
But
we will look into it now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Before you go, Mary, I just wanted to tell you that you are such a worthy namesake for Mary Phagan and the work that you've done, and exposing the truth. It's such a powerful thing. It's so important, and we can't thank you enough for what you've done. And I'm sure that she would be so appreciative that you've done this for her.
I know she is.
We really want to thank you for coming on.
Okay, thank you.
We'll talk to you soon.
I enjoyed it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. Let's see.
How do I do this now?
I got it. The technical issues.
Wow, what a delightful woman.
She was so nice. Yeah, we did a little sound check last week, and I was just like, this is going to be great. That's unbelievable.
I retract everything I've ever said about Southern accents now.
Yeah, they're beautiful. Very good. Okay, now on to the random super chats that we've got. Reinhardt sent $10. Fuentes is crashing like a meteor lately with these shitty takes, punching right, tone policing, concern trolling, discouraging activism, denouncing intolerance unironically, etc.
I have taken about a week off of watching Fuentes. I can't even opine on this, but I don't like this punching right thing. If this is true, it needs a second look.
I love Reinhardt, and
is Nick punching right? Who is he talking about?
No, this whole thing is about the kid that dressed up as a Nazi.
Oh, I did see that. He did throw some shade at Gifts Ungiven, and I really like her. So
who's that?
Her name's Melissa. She did that tweet about you're a guy that like hangs out with a black rapper, and this is like a nationalist talking about the Nazi.
This whole thing is stupid. Like, I just don't get it. I don't get, like, when you don't like a person, I don't know why you can just not talk about him. But everybody's talking about him because he's like one of the most, if not the most influential person on the right now. So
yeah, but he was talking about. But that argument could be made to Nick. Like, why even address this?
I don't know. Not my monkeys, not my zoo.
I've never heard that before.
You haven't heard that one before? Oh yeah.
That's adorable.
Reinhardt sent $25. I think after all his time in exile, he sees the light of mainstream acceptance at the end of the tunnel and is desperately clawing at it any way that he can. What a coward, or worse yet, traitor. Bro.
Well, that might be true. That might be true.
I don't think that's true at all.
Something that we need to keep in mind with Nick is that everything that he says needs to be approached with skepticism, just like we do with everybody else.
Everybody. Like, don't plan trust. Don't wait for superhero man to come save you.
Unless
you
it's
have
Devin
to
Stack.
save you. You have to save you.
Devin
you need
Stack
to be,
is going to save us.
Maybe he will. He will be out in the desert at 1:00 in the morning, dragging a 50-pound sled of water.
I know.
Fighting rattlesnakes.
I try not to let anybody in the movement be the arbiter of truth for me, and to look skeptically at everything they say. However, I do have a problem doing that with Devin Stack. I'm like, oh, Devin Stack said it. It must be true.
Yeah, it's because it's like 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, totally.
Listen, I'm of the opinion if there's somebody doing something that you disagree with, just like, why can't we just continue attacking Hasbara people? Like the people that are obviously getting paid $7,000 to post this bullshit about Israel, Dinesh D'Souza, James Lindsay, these types of, like, if we start attacking our own, no matter what, we're going to wind up fucking the whole thing up.
Well, that's not true. I
we
mean,
need unity.
We have to root out the people.
There's like people out there that are like trying to stoke some sort of conflict between Paul Miller and Nick, and I think that's stupid. Yeah. Like, everybody's got their own thing. Everybody's got what they can contribute to the movement or whatever this is, the cause, however you want to put it.
The cause.
And we've all got to contribute what we can, and we're not all going to be activists. We're not all going to be, X, Y, or Z things. So we've just got to do what we can with what we got where we are.
That's true. I mean, Nick would have to really screw up for me to say anything about him because I do not want Groyper backlash.
No.
So I'll glaze him all day just to avoid the backlash.
Dude, everybody is saying, I'm like seeing it all over the place now, or it's just backlash over this, backlash.
I know,
over
we should do it.
We should do like one of those.
We should have our guy do a compilation clip, yeah.
With like every time that somebody says backlash on like MSNBC or something. The Boo Man sent $20 on Entropy. Can't talk about Bitcoin, can't sim for blonde. You guys make it hard to send you money. JK, great show. Keep up the good work. Thank you, Mr. Boo Man. Happy Halloween.
It's really easy to send us money at the Backlash.
Oh, also, we've got somebody who emailed us. They want to send us a check.
Sweet. We will take checks.
We will take a check. Please make it out for $7,000 to the Backlash.
To Dave, who's trying to improve PR for Jews. Can't trust Italians.
I'm joking. I'm just saying, like, if they hired somebody to, like, destroy their image, they're doing an excellent job.
Yeah.
I literally could not think of how to do it better. It's wonderful. It's
perfect. Pride comes before the fall, eh?
Well, chutzpah comes before the fall. But if you would like to send us money for no reason at all other than to send us money, you can do that to The Backlash at P.O. Box 853, Post Falls, Idaho, 83877. Of course, every cent helps. Everything that you send us is used to help make wonderful content that you've come to know.
See what I've done here? I left a podcast with a guy whose wife is Jewish so that I could join a podcast with an actual Jew. That's what I did.
I thought I was a Fed.
A Jewish Fed.
Ah, there we go. Yeah, Riley, real Jewish name. Deguano on the other side. Racioli on the other side.
Okay, rein it in.
I'm just saying.
Filthy
By the way, I
wop.
had like the best Italian sausage over the weekend.
From where?
This little food truck. This is the cigar lounge. We had this big prohibition party, so everybody dressed up like flappers from like the 1920s. And buddy of mine owns a food truck, and it was like being back on the East Coast. It was so good. I bought a second Italian sausage and rigatoni to bring home to my wife. I'm like, you need to taste this. Okay,
Taste it.
This is how I want dinner to taste. Okay,
good
honey,
Lord.
please. None of
Good
this Prego coming
Lord.
out of a Classico coming out of a
That
can.
is not, you are underselling your wife criminally, who is literally a gourmet.
I know she's been
Every
asked
time
to
I come
cater.
over here, she's like, "Oh, do you want to eat?"
I just whip something up.
I'm just sous videing some steak. I'm just going to reverse sear it, and here's like the most delicious potato salad you ever had. She's a
Yeah.
Do you want some pumpkin bread?
My wife's main signature. We went to a friend's house for dinner on Friday night, and so we're like, "Can we bring anything?" And they were like, "Just bring a salad." My wife makes something called a Waldorf salad.
Oh, it's so good.
It is so. I think we made it when Jake Shields was
I've
here
had
too.
it 3 times. Yeah.
It makes me want to eat salad. It's like raisins and grapes and then a homemade mayonnaise mustard.
For my birthday, I ate the cake on stream. It was a yellow apricot coffee cake with strudel on top.
Yeah, strudel topping.
Yeah.
Listen, we got married. I gained like 80 pounds. I remember hanging out with Brittany Pettibone, like right after we got married, and Brittany's like, "So how you gonna not get fat?"
And you're like,
And I was like, "I'm just gonna get fat and take it off later."
I'll deal with that. That's a later problem. Fuck you later, Dave.
Blue Eyes White Dragon sent $10 on Entropy. Dave, in the event of a Christina Grimmie fan at the meet and greet tonight, are you Team Human Shield or Team Not It?
What?
I don't know.
I saw somebody talking about this and I don't know what.
No. I was pulling this up. I don't even know who Christina Grimmie is. She's some sort of internet personality who covers popular songs on YouTube. Bro, I don't know. Who cares?
Somebody tell me.
I don't know what this chat means. Chat? What does the chat mean? Anyway, last minute super chats on any topic we are still accepting for the time being. But first, we've got to give a big special thank you shout out to our sponsors. Number one would be Atlas Bullion, your premier internet place to go for gold and silver. I don't know if you've been seeing, but the LBMA has been screwing the silver market over. It went up to $54, and they've been naked shorting it ever since. So silver is down to $47.11. Gold hovering at $4,005.85, down about $400 from a week ago. So now might be a good time to buy at atlasbullion.com/backlash. And I'm bringing that up because I just saw earlier today on Zero Hedge, they're saying that we are going to run out of money to pay the military by November 15th. So listen, if they're not going to have any money to pay the military by November 15th, the EBT apocalypse is definitely happening. It's going to get bad.
Am I going to lose my health insurance?
Probably. It's going to not be good. So make sure that you are prepared in the case of Weimar-style hyperinflation by going to atlasbullion.com/thebacklash. Start stacking precious metals. They've got silver subscriptions as low as $55 a month, gold subscriptions as low as $200 a month. They've got plans for your kids. They've got a way, if you are older, legacy builders. I don't know if you actually have to be older for that or whatever, but and of course, if you want to make like some sort of like big, massive, want to buy $500,000 worth of gold, Kenzie can work with you on that. Please do. We do make a very small, tiny, nearly insignificant commission off of the gold and silver that we get.
But it counts.
But it does count, every penny. So atlasbullion.com/thebacklash. We also have to give a big shout out to North Idaho Tallow Company, who is currently giving
stop
free.
screaming.
I'm not screaming. Do I need to up my compression?
I don't know. The audience it really pisses them off.
North Idaho.
Tell that filthy Italian to stop screaming into his mic. The reverb.
North Idaho Tallow Company.
Oh, that's so much better.
They've got skincare that doesn't mess with your endocrine
Why did I just listen into my microphone like that?
Have you been? I've been binge watching.
North Idaho Tallow.
I've been binge watching these videos of like black people making coffee with their nails in the wake of this EBT thing, and it's just crazy. We're gonna have to get a compilation together for Wednesday because I think that this EBT thing is going to be like a really big issue on Wednesday. But anyway,
If we're alive.
you cannot buy soap with EBT, but you can get free shipping on orders over $100. So if you're sick and tired of skincare packed with chemicals you can't pronounce, you're going to have to go to idahotallow.com. They are a proud sponsor of this show. They are also, they did a pre-release or a pre-order. They made a soap based on Pacific Northwest gorilla.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so that's going to be coming out soon. Fireside Forest Tallow Soap.
No way.
And it smells amazing. So you can pre-order that at idahotallow.com. And then, of course, we have to give a big shout out to Antelope Hill Publishing, who is fighting to keep history alive amidst this regime of anti-white censorship, publishing a new generation of dissident, radical, and right-wing researchers, philosophers, polemicists, and writers. They have an eclectic catalog that includes veteran right-wing authors and academics like Carrie Bolton, Dr. Ricardo Duchesne, and Paul Kersey, as well as newer figures like Lord Miles Routledge of Afghanistan, Josh Neal, and Christian Secor, in addition to a long list of original translations and modern reprints of otherwise inaccessible historical works from eras such as fascist Italy, National Socialist Germany, and even medieval Europe.
Their original works include groundbreaking investigations into the causes and funding behind transgenderism and the opioid crisis.
Books on Christian nationalism and American folktales. Additionally, Antelope Hill also contributes to the regeneration of our culture and rebirth of our family values through their top-quality fiction, including books like Let Them Look West and Worlds Separated, and a collection of beautifully illustrated and wholesome children's books. Whatever your interest is, you're bound to find books that you like at Antelope Hill, all professionally published with cover art that will grace your bookshelves. Help us and help our people by checking out companies that share our values and work to preserve the birthright of our history. Visit Antelope Hill Publishing today. And of course, they've got the big new books they've got is this Culture of Critique by Kevin MacDonald. We've got a copy right here if you haven't read it. It is required reading. And then this new book, Rise of the Reich, which is freshly published, dusted off from World War II. So you can read those books, get edumacated. They also have these Fell For It Again awards, which is fun.
For the people that deserve it.
And we've got, this week I'm going to do a little bit more work on the website. We've got, I put my book recommendations on the website.
Oh,
You still need to get me those. But Antelope Hill has also given me a list of their recommended reading. So we'll get that added to the website as well. We also need to figure out what our discount code is. If you use discount code LP, you'll get 10% off.
No, you
maybe
could
5%. 5% off your order using discount code LP.
Yeah, really. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hold on.
We are going to be at the Prairie Pavilion tonight at
5 p.m.
5
Bringing
p.m.
some pizza. We'll be having a good time. Getting to meet and network with other people in the community. Alexander sent $25, sending money for no reason. Cheers, guys.
The reason is that we need it.
Amen.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so much. Book Track Groove sent $10. Are you guys going to talk about the primaries for the midterm, or are you going to call them if they have ridden a horse?
I don't know. Maybe.
Do you think that riding a horse makes them more likely to win?
I don't
is
know.
that
I think he asks this. I don't want to project on him.
He didn't ask Mary Phagan if she has ridden
But
a
I
horse.
think he cares about whether or not men have ridden a horse because it creates like an old-timey mystique, you know?
Stetson.
Like every man should have
Every man
ridden
should
a horse.
ride a horse at least once.
Right, yeah.
I think so.
In a suit.
We will cover maybe some of the midterms at some point, depending on how the schedule lines up. Probably what day? That Monday, depending on who's going to be the guest on Monday. The
Keith
third?
Woods.
Keith Woods is going to be coming on to talk about the unrest in Ireland.
Ireland.
Of course, someone raped a 10-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. That also in France, by the way, I saw there was a 13-year-old. So what is up with people doing this to kids? It's
They're
unbelievable.
pedophiles.
Yeah. Well, you know, in Europe, mostly Muslims, but over here we've got a different issue, clearly. But anyway, yeah, so Keith Woods will be joining us. Maybe we'll talk about the midterms a little bit. I don't really know how much matters with the midterms.
I know, who cares?
What matters is the local stuff. It really does matter who you vote for school board. That is usually up for this election. School boards, water districts, highway districts, mayor, city council. These are things that actually matter. because it has direct local impact to where you live. And so I would vote on those things, and I might abstain from the national level stuff. Well, I guess,
Agreed.
wait, the midterms, that's like next year, isn't it? That's not this election. This election is a local election.
I don't care because I'm not voting in any of them.
You should vote.
No.
You should vote. Yeah, come on.
No.
You're voting for Dan Gookin, aren't you? Dan Gookin for mayor.
We're going to see him tonight, right?
Well, he might be coming out. Big fan, I hear.
Thank you so much for joining us. This is The Backlash. We'll see you on Wednesday. Bye-bye.